President.
Senator from Iowa.
I come to the floor today concerned that the Senate's advice and consent role is being undermined. It's being undermined by obstruction from Senate Democrats that threaten to keep the Justice Department from functioning as the American people expect and the American people deserve. The Office of Legislative Affairs serves as a crucial bridge between the Justice Department and this Congress. This relationship is essential not only for the legislative process, but for maintaining constitutional oversight and accountability. Office of Legislative Affairs ensures that we as lawmakers have the timely information needed to craft legislation, conduct oversight, and fulfill our constitutional duties. When we seek answers, whether it's on criminal justice or immigration or national security, it's the Office of Legislative Affairs that takes our questions and returns the responses. This function can't run on autopilot. Yet today, the Office of Legislative Affairs is hobbled. It lacks a Senate-confirmed Assistant Attorney General to lead that office. Why? Because Senate Democrats have decided to impede the confirmation of all Justice Department nominees without exception. That is not the constitutional role of advice and consent. That is obstruction. Every senator has the right to raise concerns about nominees. That's our constitutional role. That's our duty. And holds of specific nominees for specific reasons at times is very appropriate. It's an appropriate tool for any senator to use. I have even used that tool, and I've also done it on nominees. But the process demands fairness. It demands common sense. We should weigh each nominee individually, not slam the brakes on an entire agency, especially one for keeping Americans safe. So I'm here at the floor because of the nomination of Patrick Davis, pending on the Senate calendar now for 2 months. This is regrettable because he's an exceptionally qualified nominee, and this senator should know because he worked for this senator. Mr. Davis brings a strong record of public service and a deep understanding of the legislative process gained from his time working for me on the Senate Judiciary Committee. I'm confident he will lead the Office of Legislative Affairs with diligence, with fairness, and with integrity. He should be confirmed today, and I'm here to ask my colleagues to do just that. Obstructing his nomination serves absolutely no one. Many senators, myself included, have outstanding requests to the Justice Department that we expect answers to. I understand that some senators may complain that they haven't received a response to their own outstanding requests. I've made such complaints myself over the years under both Republican and Democrat administrations. But I don't believe that obstructing this particular qualified nominee who can help get the response we need will address their concerns. I also understand that some senators are unhappy with the current administration and are using Justice Department nominees to make their displeasure known. To these colleagues, I'll simply say that the obstruction of qualified nominees to lead the Office of Legislative Affairs makes it harder for the Department of Justice to engage with Congress and harder for Congress to do its job. This ultimately ends up hurting the American people. I'm asking this body to uphold a fair confirmation process so that the Justice Department can effectively engage with Congress. Blocking the confirmation of Patrick Davis does not serve the Senate, it does not serve the interest of justice, and it does not serve the American people. So I'm here, Mr. President, to ask unanimous consent that the Senate proceed to the consideration of the following nomination. Executive Calendar number 92, Patrick Davis to be Assistant Attorney General. That the Senate vote on the nomination without intervening action or debate. The motion to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table, and that the President be immediately notified of the Senate's actions.
Is there objection?
Reserving the right to object.
The Democratic leader.
And I will object for two reasons. First, a few weeks ago, I announced I'm placing holds on all DOJ political nominations because the Attorney General refuses to answer fundamental questions about Donald Trump seeking a luxury plane from Qatar to use as Air Force One. This is a grave national security threat, as everyone knows. The bottom line is very simple on this plane. The President of the United States accepted a luxury jet from a foreign government to use as his personal Air Force One. It wasn't just unethical, it reeked of corruption, of bribery, and threatened our national security. That whole plane will have to be taken apart piece by piece to make sure listening devices aren't in it, and even be more expensive. And yet the Justice Department didn't look the other way. They approved it. That's so typical of this Justice Department, in something that I think if a Democratic president did it, the senator from Iowa would be the first on the floor to stand to object. Now we hear silence, silence. They won't even answer serious questions about this. This plane should be withdrawn, and I have introduced legislation to do that. But that's not the only reason. Donald Trump has turned the Justice Department upside down. It is politicized, it is weaponized, it is hollowed out. Donald Trump and his acolytes in the Justice Department are less interested in prosecuting criminals and more interested in prosecuting Trump's perceived political opponents. This is an absolute disgrace. Both sides, in past administrations, Democrat and Republican, have worked together to uphold the rule of law at DOJ. But now, the rule of law has been replaced by loyalty tests. Career public servants who have dedicated years to prosecuting criminals are just shoved aside because when Donald Trump asked them to break the law, to undo the law, to set aside rule of law, they refuse. Investigations and prosecutions are dictated by political convenience and not justice. And now Republicans want the Senate to quietly rubber stamp a political nominee for the DOJ by unanimous consent. No hearing, no debate, no scrutiny. On an important position like this, this should happen regularly, that there should be debate. But when this Justice Department is as horrible as it is, as political as it is, as destructive of American values as it has been, no way. The nominee is a former staffer for the very senator making the request. Now, as my colleague noted, in the past, he's been up there when other administrations made ethical violations and did the wrong thing in his judgment. But now there's just silence from my colleague and from all of the Republican senators, and they know what's going on. They know what's going on. But blind obeisance to Donald Trump is wrong when it comes to something as sacred as this, rule of law and a Justice Department that seeks to enforce the law, not just go after political enemies. If Donald Trump and Republicans want to poison and politicize our justice system, I'm not participating, and I object. And I'd add one more point with deep regret. What is happening to the Judiciary Committee and the Justice Department is shameful. Inspector generals have been dismissed with no accountability. Again, my colleague who used to uphold the inspectors general and praise them. Tons of them are dismissed now. The American Bar Association has been sidelined. And today, up in the Justice Department, unqualified judicial nominees, some barely out of law school, are being rushed through confirmation. This is not how the Senate should work. It didn't work that way when there was a Democratic president and my friend was chairman of the Judiciary Committee. There will be no, there should be no special treatment. None. Not for political allies, not for former staffers, not for anyone. What Trump and Bondi are doing to the Justice Department and the rule of law is dangerous. It undermines public trust, erodes the rule of law. The Senate should not be complicit. I object.
The objection is heard.
President,
Senator from Iowa.
I'm sorry to hear of the objection. I'd like to correct one thing that Senator Schumer said, that Patrick Davis didn't have a hearing before the committee. We did hold a hearing on Patrick Davis. I yield the floor.